Hello, everybody. I'm Kipp Snow, Director of the Transportation Distribution and Logistics Institute at the Community College of Baltimore County.
Hey, everybody. Mike Singer, Community Manager, Baltimore and Chesapeake Bay Shipwatchers. Welcome to the Shipwatchers Podcast, episode 39. Just two guys talking about ship and dredge.
Dredge. Yeah.
Dredges. Yes. Can we talk about that real quick? Real exciting. Kip and I went on a little visit to this big, huge dredge out in the harbor or in the bay now on the winter maintenance dredging contract, and that was incredibly eye-opening. That was exciting.
That was an exciting trip.
It was.
Well, we're going to get into that here in just a little bit and show some of the action shots and kind of do a little bit of explanation on our trip that we took yesterday. So that's but before we do that, let's go ahead and get into a couple of the shipping updates and a couple of the things that happened in this week, and then we'll go a little bit more in depth into that.
Yeah, and before we get into that, so if you're watching this on YouTube, give us a like, subscribe, hit the bell to be alerted to new podcasts as they come available. So as we talk about every week, this week's shipping update, we talk about the truck transactions at Seagirt, where they bring in and export all the containers for ships, and we just go by a daily average, and so we're just kind of looking at trends. So how many for the week? What was the average that week for how many containers they moved per day? So 4 weeks ago, 3,184. 3 weeks ago, 3,477. 2 weeks ago, 3,270. Last week, like ending yesterday, day before, 3,405. I'm really kind of surprised it hasn't trended up.
And I know that we were looking at some of those expectations of March, April, and getting closer to that 4,000 mark. I think that there's a significant amount of volatility in the market.
Well, yeah, right now, yeah, I guess you're right.
One day we've got tariffs, and the next day we don't. That we got to contend with, and all of that's that is going to cause some disruptions, at least in the short term, until they figure out exactly what's happening. You're going to have these types of fluctuations, but I still think these are still strong numbers. I don't see, if we're looking at a week ago and 3 weeks ago, and those were kind of downturned numbers. If I was seeing a gradual trend downward, I would go, okay, there's the problem. But right this minute, I think that the fluctuations has a lot to do with some of the import-export volatility.
Right. And what else is that Wednesday was pretty low. I forget what the number was, but Wednesday this past week was low. So this number would have been probably 35, 36 had Wednesday not been so low.
And a lot of times, I mean, it may just be with shipment delays. Maybe there was a ship that got held up in another port for whatever reason, which means that's going to change the scheduling for the future ports of call, and those are impacts to what those metrics are.
And it has been windy, right? So, and remember, so a lot of the ships, they'll go to Norfolk first, and then they'll come up here, and to get up here, they've got to go over a tunnel, out to sea, make a U-turn, come back, over another tunnel. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe wind was nasty and kept somebody in port or kept somebody offshore for an extra day, or because that does happen. Now, I don't know of any of those instances this week, but
I think this week I did see some announcements coming out of the MPA about weather-related closures.
Oh, that's true.
And some of the terminals were closed due to the weather. Now, if you think about it,
that was probably Wednesday. Thank you for reminding me, because I think that was Wednesday.
If they
shut down the cranes at like noon or 1 o'clock.
That's exactly where I was getting at. if they're shutting the Bay Bridge down because of wind or having wind restrictions, the cranes is up there kind of at the same height anyway. You're going to want to bring those people down off of the cranes during those
Right.
high
And I
winds.
know
So,
they're like, I think they did a preemptive
yeah,
shutdown. Like they saw the forecast and were like, okay, we're getting the guys out of here. But I also know that and I don't know what it is. You and I have discussed it before. I don't recall what the specific numbers are, but there is a threshold. And I don't know if it's sustained or gusts or if
right.
it's like sustained over this number for 15 minutes and then they're done. Something like that. So really big news, kind of bearing the lead here. I mean, the dredge thing is really exciting. I mean, a once in a lifetime opportunity, but
Right.
like, so we all know that nothing happens over or under around a federal channel without the Army Corps of Engineers blessing, for lack of a better term. Okay? We all know that, or those of us who pay attention to this stuff, we do know that. We do recognize that, because you always see, bridges at a 90-degree or really close to the channel. It's one of those unwritten or long-standing requirements by the Army Corps. But I mean, did you know we were waiting for them to issue a permit
No,
for building?
no, it didn't.
I had no idea. So
I knew that there were permits that needed to be acquired. I didn't know that they had like one of the gatekeeper.
yeah, that's a good term. Like big overarching, you're not doing anything until we say so, for lack of a better
Right.
term. So, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers issues permit for rebuild of Francis Scott Key Bridge. So, I'm just going to go ahead and read this verbatim. Baltimore District on March 5th issued its Section 10 404 408 permit decision for the rebuild of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Easy for me to say. Granting Maryland Transportation Authority. Hope they don't rename it like that. That would be horrible. Imagine people trying to read that. Granting the MDTA permission to construct the bridge that will reconnect I-695 Baltimore Beltway and improve the community accessibility that was lost following the collapse of the original structure that claimed the lives of 6 Baltimoreans. So, anytime I feel like I have to say it, anytime we mention them, I feel like I have to temper my excitement with this was a horribly sad thing, and
Right.
you still wonder what those families are going through. But this is really big, huge news in the progress of getting this thing started. So,
Correct.
yeah, I had no idea we were waiting for that.
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, that's pretty big news. Another little nugget came out, and this is a future nugget, but it just came out this week. And this was just
Kind of out of the blue almost.
right out of the blue. And then it makes you wonder, like, did the port know about this? Did they see the little blank on the schedule? Had they been working the phones in the background, trying to make sure that this doesn't just brings a bunch more questions, and people are like, well, just shut up and get to what I haven't even told people. So I'm going to just keep going down this road. So it's just a bunch of people looking at a schedule, and RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. So this guy who pays attention to all this cruising stuff. So Royal Caribbean says Vision of the Seas will shift to Fort Lauderdale in 2026. So we're losing a cruise ship. I mean, that's not something I expected. Now, supposedly it's just one winter. So anyway, the issue is that all the Royal Caribbean ships that can physically fit in Baltimore because of bridge heights have been deployed somewhere else, says Matt Hochberg. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name correctly. With RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. So effectively, late October 26 to April 2027, there are no Royal Caribbean ships scheduled in Baltimore.
That's only like a 6-month period. I
Right. And it's winter.
Yeah.
So it's cold cruising out of here. Maybe I'm just being a realist. I love my town. I love my port, obviously. But maybe they look at it and go, okay, we can move one ship for 6 months to a warmer port and be able to fill it up better.
The airlines, I'm sure, do this type of scheduling moves and changes when the demand decreases during a particular time. They sometimes move those routes around in order to, try to accommodate whatever the demand actually is. That may just be what the situation is, but if they were pulling out of Baltimore altogether, I think that there would have been a big presser, or Jonathan Daniels would come in and say, this is what's happening, but here's how we're going to recoup because he's really talked about, hey, we're bringing in some of these smaller cruise companies into Baltimore, so you have many more options to be able to go cruising out of Baltimore.
Right. And I wonder how much he or whoever is working the phones now. Like, hey, I've got an opening for 6 months. Do you want to come in here, get your foot on the ground? I can't guarantee you May of 2027 on that date, but
we can work something out.
We can get you in here. You can see how great this town is. Yeah. You can see if you want to be here on a weekly basis and maybe sign a contract, which also, remember when they renewed the contract with Carnival, right? Recently. And they renewed it for 5 years with option for an extension. It was like an NFL contract.
Right.
So how does Royal Caribbean leave? Was their contract up?
I don't know. I think the way that I'm interpreting this is that it's not just, hey, we're just completely ejecting out of this port of call. I think it's just, to me, it just sounds like a short-term type of transaction that really had something to do with, just natural.
Well, let me elaborate on that a teeny bit. So this has been confirmed by Royal Caribbean. I did not integrate that into our plan here. But they did not have a comment going forward from April 2027.
Okay.
And I don't know how this works. I don't know how these contracts are written, but I'm just, the logic in my head says, well, if they just renewed a contract with Carnival, then wouldn't Royal Caribbean have a contract? Wouldn't a contract specify that you're going to be here once a week? And so maybe the contract ran out and they hadn't renewed that one yet.
Right.
And Royal Caribbean was like, okay, here's our chance for some adjustability. These are all guesses.
That would be interesting to find out. And I am kind of leaning more towards the, is this a temporary change or is this a long-term contractual change? But because we don't have all of the related pressers, I wonder if this is just more temporary, but I think, if we can figure that out.
So if the executive director of the Port of Baltimore, Jonathan Daniels, ever comes on our podcast, we will. I think I would like to ask him about that.
I think that would be one of the questions. We are actively working on that.
We have been actively working. Yes. We're very excited about the idea. That would be an incredible thing. So
I would like to pick his brain on the cruise stuff, especially with his, cruise background from.
What's funny? Yeah. You ask him that one question, he's going to be off and running for 20 minutes.
That's right. I know. I have
to know so much about this stuff.
Right,
remember?
Right.
I mean, he knew every ship that fits under these bridges, which ones were being used, where they were, what options they might have to fit in here, on a schedule. I mean, it was just crazy. He knew it all.
All right. Why don't we go ahead and shift over to our trip from yesterday? So what we do have prepared is a video, or what we tried to do is record some video and some conversations of what we experienced yesterday. Having a chance and was invited to go out to visit and tour one of the channel dredge operations out in the Patapsco River. So how about this? I've got some. Why don't we kind of prep everybody with what's what we're about to show? The first, I'm going to please. This is amateur. I know that the sound quality and the video quality is not the polished product. I get that. There was actually kind of some discussions and mentions about that, and I was like, yeah, no, this is going to be a little rough. So you're going to hear lots, some differences in sound quality, and some of it has to do with the industrial environment that we were in. But also, it was pretty windy out there on the water, so you're going to hear some of those types of things. But let's talk about, who we were involved with. Can you give us a quick summary of all of the parties that we had to interact with in order to get out there?
Let me see if I can remember. So this all started with me talking to Army Corps of Engineers boat captain Jake Tor, and I'm pretty sure that's how he pronounces his name. And we were talking about getting him on the podcast. So he ran that up the pole to his public information officer, right? And working that, and that turned into, hey, do you guys want to come out on a dredge? Are you serious?
Yeah.
When can we go?
Right.
So that was incredible. And then, of course, there's Curtin. So it's Curtin Marine that owns the dredge, that won the dredging contract this winter.
I've got some of the names recorded.
Yeah. There was the supply boat captain. And then once we got on, we talked to Lance, we talked to Rob, we talked to the guy who was running the dredge. So yeah, a lot of people were involved.
So we did. There was a lot of people involved in this, and rightfully so. There's a lot of different groups who are involved with the not only the Army Corps of Engineers and Curtin Marine, who were great.
Jeremy.
And Jeremy.
And then there was like 2 or 3 different people that we emailed with. So yeah.
Right. So it took a little while to get everything put together, but ultimately we were able to meet the supply boat and the crew boat that shuttles people back and forth from shore out to the barge, and so we went through that progression, and were able to go in and tour everything. What were some of your impressions, and maybe what were some things that you remember to kind of tell folks to kind of look out for as we were going through that tour? So we did have a chance to go into the bridge of the and where they have some of their crane operations and control center, and then we spent some time outside, actually looking at the actual bucket transactions.
Right.
So what were some of the things that you picked up on that everybody should kind of take a look at as the video plays?
I mean, just how massive this thing is. So like off the top of my head, so the bucket that they put in the water that picks up the dredge is effectively 10 dump trucks worth of material. So keep that in mind when you see the bucket on the video. Just imagine 10 dump trucks worth, they're all backing up and just going at one, and then how dynamic it was, right? So we've been watching this thing on the live stream camera, and sometimes we have the live stream camera focused on it for hours, and we're just kind of watching them pick up, and every once in a while we'd see them lift the spuds or something, or we'd see it move, and we're like, oh, that's cool. But you have no idea how dynamic that thing is until you get out there. It like constantly moves, pretty much constantly moves. And we'll get into more details of that later. But those are my 2 big takeaways.
Yeah. So as you watch the video, I tried to capture some of those movements were. We did go around the backside of the barge, and at that point we realized that there was about a 20-degree difference in air temperature with the wind coming from the north, and we were like, nah, let's go back around to the front where it's a little warmer. But you could see the different components moving up and down. So you can see the different components of the barge moving up and down, and actually crab walking. And you were having some conversations with some of the Army Corps folks and the Curtin Marine folks, about how this process works. And I think we realized that it was all moving. There were multiple transactions happening at the same time in order to keep this thing, and it was just constantly the barge was constantly crabbing down the channel as it picked up the next 2 or 3 buckets of silt.
Unbelievable.
But it was all happening at the same time, that the crane was moving at the same time this thing was crabbing. And inside the bridge, and I know we can't get into too much of this, but the controls that they used and almost the scientific process to make sure that they were capturing the right amount of silt in the right locations, and the monitoring systems that they had were just amazing to see all of that work together.
Yeah, I saw a really cool display, and I didn't beg the guy, but I was like, okay, that's the one I'd really like a picture of. And he's like, no, you can't take a picture of
it. But it was still interesting to see like this is real work. It's dangerous work. They told us several times, like, you need to make sure you stay in certain areas for safety purposes. Heavy machinery and equipment that's moving at any given time. The other thing that I found that was interesting, and you had asked some questions about crew schedules, and I'm hoping that audio does come through, because there was some pretty good explanations. You have some crew that are 28 days on and off, and they're 24/7, and then you had some people who were shift people. You had, who come in for 12 hours at a time. And so because of that, you had certain kinds of living quarters that existed on the barge. And we got,
like, what was it? About 17 full-time people that live on the barge, on the dredge.
And so you can imagine, hey, what have you got to do in order to live in a particular environment? So you got to have living quarters and
and we're getting a tour, and we're walking between the levels, and I'm asking questions, and I tend to speak a little loud, and the guy was like, hey, let's come in here. These people are sleeping. I'm like, oh my God, I felt like such an idiot. But yeah. So
and then even
it's shift work, right? You're like 12 on, 12 off. So when you're off, I assume you're going to get some food and poke around on the internet or watch a TV show or whatever you do. And then, okay, you've got to get to sleep.
Yeah.
Because you've got another shift coming up.
Correct.
So
they were gracious enough to provide lunch for us for that trip.
That was very nice.
That was a fantastic lunch. And so, I shared I shared a picture of the meal with the research department, and I felt a little felt a little bad that I was eating so good for the meal, but let's put it into perspective. If you've got somebody who is living on a barge for 28 days, and they're doing very specialized industrial work, you need to have the ability to take that break and be nourished so that you can go and do that difficult job. And they had two or three, I think it was 2 full-time cooks, galley,
think so.
Workers.
I think you'd have to have at least 2.
And they were, they had their own
4 meals a day, which was, I found that interesting. Now, when you have all these different shifts and and then some of them were divided, right? Like, remember, I'm just being silly. The guy's like in this big, like, Star Trek kind of seat, right? And he's got all these controls. So he's like doing the dredge work. And then there's a guy in the crane who's actually, turning and lifting and dropping. He's doing all the crane mechanisms. And then in each of their 12-hour shifts, they switch. So I guess it's like, so the barge guy can understand what the crane guy's going through. This is just my conjecture. And the crane guy can understand what the barge guy's going through. So it's everybody knows everybody's job and you can understand each other. So, so that was interesting that they actually switch off back and forth. And then, you know, we roll up to the thing. There's a full coal ship going by just at the right time. Remember, we went over the wake. Remember, kind of feeling that in the supply boat, and then we roll up. They untie a barge that leaves. They back up. We get onto the dredge that leaves. Another dredge comes on, and in like it was probably 15 minutes. But before we know it, I mean, they're back to work. I mean, it's an incredible operation.
And I don't know if you picked up, the supply boat sat out off of the barge until the other dredge barge came up and got in place, and then they came back around because they still had food deliveries to offload off of the crew boat. And so
I didn't pick up on that.
There was a lot of
like a safety thing in case. Oh my God, they need to get on the other side for some reason. You can't be there just for.
Just a couple, right. And you had 2 tugs that were in there who were trying to help with the actual dredge operations, and leading 1 tug per barge basically to kind of help maneuver things around. It was just a lot that was going on. So
right, and I don't know if you want to talk about this now, but okay. And then there are 4 tugs that drag the scows or the hopper barges 20 miles south to the dump site. Okay, so now how do you supply all those people? You know, there's probably 2 crews of 12-hour shifts on each tug. Everybody's got to eat. Everybody needs, you know what I mean? So that supply boat is working his butt off.
And there was a discussion that you had with them about just the logistics. So there's the technical, there's the dredge operations and the environmental and the scientific process that goes through that, but just anytime they get a new contract and they're working for 2 months in a new environment, we asked them, where did you come from before? And they said, what was it? Puerto Rico. And so now so that whole crew has to be uplifted and moved to a completely different market. You have to deal with travel and lodging. And
you're leasing apartments and canceling leases where you just were, and
So there's a whole other logistics component to making all of this work.
The fact that the thing runs 24 hours a day is one thing. The fact that I learned that this thing basically never stops moving is another. And then you've got at least 7 support boats. I'm counting tugs. The 2 tugs that stay there on subcontract. The 4 that run the barges back and forth, at least 1 supply boat.
There's a lot that has to be put together for all of this to really work out. So, all right. So we've got some video that we've put together. This is going to be just kind of a showcase or a preemptive of all of the video. We recorded a lot of video, not only on a GoPro, but on a little handheld. And we have some other pictures that we want to put together. And in a later but short time, we'll have that video put together. We want to give you a little taste of what was happening. So take a look at this video. Remember, some of the sound quality is not the best because of the environments that we were in, out in the elements in an industrial environment. And some of the interviews may have some challenge with some of the sound quality. Let's take a look at that video now. All right.
Hey everybody, Mike Singer, Baltimore Chesapeake Bay Shipwatchers. We are on the Montecassi crew boat with Curtin Marine. Headed out to the Dredge, which is just outside the Bodkin. So probably about a 20-minute run out to the Dredge site. We're going to go see what they're doing and how they do it. Right now I'm coming out of Curtis Creek, so you can see the coal pile in the background where the coal dock is, where the coal ships go to fill up, and we will be out there soon.
the dredge, but if you look closely here, the blue is the dredge, the green is a full coal ship, and this is us approaching. Yeah, so we're almost there. Be there in a couple of minutes. It's like we're getting there at the exact right time. The barge is leaving, a barge is coming, and a ship is going by. It's not busy at all.
Exactly. This is great. Last time we had to wait 3 hours. using the crane when he leaves him.
So that way somebody isn't doing the same job 12 hours straight. And you each get to kind of do 2 different things.
Yeah, and then the junior goes on deck and helps out with the deck hands.
Yeah.
The deck hands crew change. Most of them crew change noon to midnight, with the exception of one that crew changes at 1800 and 06. Because he's coming.
Now you're gonna be able to write all this down for me, right?
Because he comes on deck at 06, so that
We can take it to Poplar, right? Yeah.
So as long as when things are rolling smooth right now with the Force Scout, we just sailed one, the next one's right there.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and if I didn't have to turn around and change cuts, this would have been tied up and we'd be digging already.
Yeah.
So
Cool, man. Appreciate the.
with the Force Scout it works perfect. The
Yeah.
rotation just keeps rolling.
That's awesome.
Good, how are you? What's your name? Jeremy. And then last time you were here. Lance.
So how many days out of the year is this unit engaged in work? Is it,
I mean, the goal is 365.
of course.
Yeah.
I was just curious, like from an average or.
Yeah, if we have work, then we're working 365.
Mhm.
Whether or not that's dredging operations
Hmm.
or something else in preparation of dredging or, mobilization, demobilization,
Mm-hmm.
it just depends.
Yeah. So where did you guys come from before Baltimore?
We were in
Okay.
San Juan.
And it just so happened that because our dredging is normally done in the winter here, and it just happened to work out. The calendar just happened to work out. Yeah. Well, that's cool.
Yeah, it was. We were able to finish our project in San Juan.
Another 50 feet from
Emails
the
down
head.
there, and we have
12
another support vessel that you guys might have seen.
Okay.
A barge that we have at Smith's.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if you got on there this morning or not, but yeah, we put all of our equipment on that, and then on here.
You got 25
We tow
feet from the
everything out
head.
along with the scows.
You got 15 on the bow now.
Took, I don't remember the exact time.
Yeah.
10, 12 days, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's next? Because you guys are supposed to be out of here next month?
Is it March 6th? So, yeah.
Overlapping now.
Yeah, we're out of
like
out of
15
here.
wide, looking pretty flat.
Mid-April, mid to late April.
Right.
Yeah, we plan to be hopefully complete dredging activities mid-April.
Got 12 on the
And
bow.
then we'll demo and then we get to
Oh, okay. That's convenient.
yeah. Not as intense of a demobilization or sale.
You got
Yeah.
like 65
Yeah.
feet from the head.
So, Jeremy, how
About
is?
that 10.
Tell me about how an Army Corps, because dredging here is what, every winter or just? And so this year you're doing just about every channel except one. And talk to me a little bit about how you guys
Alright,
go
trying to close
to
all
formulate
time.
that schedule. Like,
Down.
That I don't know.
okay.
25
Okay.
feet ahead.
I wish I know, and I will know in a couple of years, but I've only been on board
You
for
got
a year.
2 wide.
Okay.
My main mission is, my job title is crisis manager, so when stuff goes wrong, it's when
That's when Jeremy shows up.
yeah.
So it's not good when Jeremy shows up.
Today's great, so I did the.
Today's the exception.
Yeah, I
No
did-
crisis today.
No crisis today, but no, I pick up, I do the FUDs, the formally used.
Just getting your spring on.
Recovery and.
Touch
for
it,
that.
mid-ship,
And then obviously the key bridge.
2, 3 openings, only another 5 to come in the spring.
All
Oh,
those
yeah.
things that-
Are the grids to catch,
content capture
Mhm.
archives, and also for content capture for NTSB, so
Mm.
they didn't have
further like
the crew that we had.
Yeah, when
we were on site with them.
in our talk
Mhm.
around that area.
I can't say this particular contract or this particular project is a maintenance project.
Yeah,
Something
right.
that's
You
done
can't bring much of that here.
Right,
No,
right.
Willie might be able to say
Whatever.
more about that, but
Down there.
All the dredge material for here is for maintenance for Poplar Island. So when we start building new islands, obviously those will be new contracts as well.
Mm-hmm.
how often do the barges that get?
Okay.
All those
Or
ways.
how long does it take to fill one?
Okay. So
Right
how
now-
was it? How much fun was
About
it when you
3 hours.
guys were in Curtis Creek and you were all the way up in Arundel Cove by the
Curtis
Coast
Creek,
Guard
I think.
yard in that little corner, getting this monstrosity in there?
Yeah.
Was it tight? Was it a little hairy or?
It wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
It wasn't as bad as I think we initially thought.
Uh-huh.
But it was tight, and then one of the biggest problems in there was the ice.
Right.
The springs wasn't over there quite a bit in there, so we had to use our bigger boats to go in there and break up ice just so we could go in and get a survey.
Oh wow. That's cool.
So
And on two.
Number 2. Welcome back, Willie.
we're doing that 24 hours.
How you doing?
Finished snow Thursday morning, yeah.
Yeah, I was hoping you're in
Florida or somewhere.
That
No,
far up
they don't treat us like that.
Curtis Creek in front
Not
of
in the winter.
in front of
That's in the summer.
Arundel Cove.
Thursday.
I mean, I've got guys posting yards in.
That's winter. Let's go colder.
Yeah. Don't want them
You
doing
know, off the top of your head, how, what's the max difference, like it was over something by 5 or 6 feet, like how, what's the most you went down in that area? Do you know off the top of your head?
So the contract was 22 plus 2.
Have a good day.
Actually, my work.
You guys come back?
I think so. I think we have.
So I coordinate with the IT department to get it. They set up all the.
No more later.
So we'll just put right in here. How big the accommodations are. The certificate of inspection authorizes there to be 18 people on board. Currently, they're sailing with 16-man crew,
Mm-hmm.
and they rotate shifts. Generally, it's 12-hour shifts. Some watches are 6 hours, depending on how the guys work out. And like Noah was saying, crane operators swap out every few hours between operating the dredge and operating the crane. So then sometimes if they need a crane operator ashore, they'll go ashore, work for a few hours. So there's a nice rotation. But each room has its own head. As you can see, you can feel a little bit of the vibration up here. The guys tell me that they're used to it. I came off of, I spent 20 years on tugboats myself, so like sleeping with noise is not foreign to me. So
Right, no.
once you desensitize to it. So if you want to, I'll slide right through. I'll take you guys down to the next deck. Yeah, they were having fun with the water printer. This was actually on a supply boat that was out of service, and Curtin essentially bought the superstructure, cut it off, and plopped it.
That's wild.
So this is all, I forget the name of the Conti, C-O-N-T-I.
Uh-huh.
So that's where they cut the superstructure off, and that's what this deck house is. So once we go down below this is all built with the barge, but everything from here up used to be an offshore supply vessel.
That's quite fascinating because we talked upstairs about, and just talking about, oh, did they have this built? Yes.
So
But
you can see the delineation.
yeah,
So this is all that was built new in the shipyard.
yeah. And having to match it up, and I guess that was fun.
End with the galley, but here's your engineering control booth. Here we go, guys. They're gonna use so if you want to walk over here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're just posting around, fellas. Sorry about it.
These guys can explain better what you're looking at. These are your engineers on board. So you have the engines.
No, just we have a couple of engines. This is new generation Tier 4 SFM.
Okay.
This is minimum exhaust is NIX. Nice hybrid systems are great. It's low fuel consumption. Nice clean exhaust. Environmental friendly. Fuel friendly, we're just saving a lot of fuel just with such a system, with a hybrid system, especially for the cranes. We're not spending for nothing. Next step in the how to earn and save the money.
Right.
Not only for us, but also for the customer.
Right.
How often do you have to refuel? How often do you have to refuel?
It just depends on the weather. It just depends on the fuel consumption.
Okay.
But usually it's not frequently, and it's less compared with the same power consumption with in other vessels or barges. It's 25% less. Yeah, and they in a month maybe just is nothing, but when you just count into the year, you will see the difference.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome, guys.
I did hear about that.
Pretty cool.
So obviously
Once you get
that's
to Rob.
down in there, right? The unit that does that, it's down in where the cables are. It's on the spool down in there that's all cables in. Oh, we're dropping again. Gee, why would that surprise me?
I mean, it sounds like, yeah.
Right?
Very large vomit.
Alright, now we're dropping again. I guess we weren't in the right place.
That's for the stability, I imagine, right? So those things, so when they lift it up, they'll just fall over.
Right, yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Kind of cool.
Because even the little local contractors who build piers and stuff, you know,
They all have sponges.
yeah, oh yeah, it's not as not as dramatic of an operation, but it's still the same principle, yeah.
Hey, well, you know, let these guys set the standard for what the way it should be done on a
I
long basis.
would-
It's just being able to afford it.
I would think so. And the fact that this thing can walk,
That's pretty cool.
I was blown away when I heard about that. That's just amazing.
Did you watch some of the videos they sent you, their YouTube video that describes what this boat is?
You know
It's
what?
pretty cool.
I need to. No, I
You
haven't.
should. I watched it before I came on board,
Yeah.
so I could comprehend
Right.
the brains
I
to
definitely
build this.
should have. Now they must feel pretty confident about what they're dredging right here because they're not using screen.
I am thinking the same thing out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, out here in the main channel, the amount of debris is very minimal. Every now and then you might come across like an abandoned anchor block from a mooring or
Uh-huh.
anchors. For the most part, it's pretty clear out here.
How often do you drop the larger pieces that aren't going to Poplar Island? And where do you take them? Like
Yeah, the stuff that winds up,
rubbish,
big stuff that winds up on the screen.
scrap,
Oh.
and
We had a laydown guard. Yeah, we had to get a material handler, like a Cinnabogin, and actually unload the screen, then take the dredge, rehandle the material in the scow, kind of use those as like a sifter.
Yeah.
To get all the debris out of the scow from that Curtin Street section. So it's pretty bad.
So how is life on this monstrosity 24/7?
I actually don't live out here 24/7.
Oh, okay.
I go shoreside every day.
Oh, but you're one of the lucky ones.
Yes. Although, I mean, so the crew, they're out here 24/7. They do 28 days on, 28 off.
Oh, okay. So they'll bring in. So the whole crew goes shoreside every 28 days, bring in all new people.
Yes, but we're staggered so that
Well,
we have
okay.
overlap and
Right.
there's continuity.
Right. So there's a lot of right. Everybody isn't on the same schedule. Right. So you've done half or a third of the people who have been doing this, so the other 2/3 come up, they're doing, they can learn from the people who have been on station.
Right, and every position has essentially 4 guys.
Okay, right.
Right,
For
because you've
different
got
shifts.
12-hour shifts. They'll usually do noon to midnight command.
Right.
So you always have those 2 guys here, then there's their counterparts are on their time off.
Right.
It takes 4 guys to fill one role. 24/7.
Right. So, how many people kind of permanently staffed on board?
Between 15 and 17 guys are living on board right now.
Okay.
And then we have another engineering, we call it the site engineering. We do all the production, surveying. That's another between 4 and 5 staff members that live shoreside.
Okay.
Safety, they live on the hill.
Right.
Quality control.
Right.
The project management.
So you roll into a town, you roll into a new site, you've got to find places for these people to live or stay for a month, 3 months, 4 months, like
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's quite the process, right? So we have a whole team of site administrators that the folks that install the support barge on the land side, the shore side support,
Right.
they help us get places. So right now we're getting close to the end of the process.
Yeah.
We're already looking at our next contract.
right.
So they have to sign leases, cancel leases. I mean, just the logistics on housing the crew from site to site to site. is,
Right.
You know,
And I'm sorry, what's your name?
Rob Fuller.
Oh, Rob. Sorry, we met earlier.
Yep.
So I'm Mike Singer, and Kipp and I help run the Baltimore Chesapeake Shipwatching. So just a bunch of people who are fascinated with how everything runs with the port.
Yeah.
If it weren't for you guys here, stuff would stop running at a higher capacity at least. So when you talk about logistics, that's what kind of got this whole thing started. Just from a curiosity from our standpoint, you know, how does all this stuff work? How does it happen, right? So
There's an
just
insane amount of moving parts.
right.
Not just mechanical moving parts out here, but you know, the shore side, the dredge itself, and then we have the disposal side of this project as an upland disposal. So now we've got 10,000 feet of pipeline with a booster pump and a whole nother barge that sucks the material out of this
Yeah.
scow on the other end.
Yeah,
And
so-
then disposes of it.
So yeah, you only got like 2 or 3 pieces of equipment. Sorry, Captain. Sorry.
Yeah, 2 or 3 pieces of equipment breaking down per day. And
Yeah.
No, it's a lot of moving parts.
So that's an interesting thing that you brought up. So spares and maintenance.
Yeah. A lot of things have redundancy.
Right. So we walk to the shop downstairs.
Yep.
To get up here.
Right. There's obviously critical spares, things that we know that this is a showstopper. It's an easy part to keep on hand.
Right.
How many are we gonna have? 2, 3? It depends, right? Some things are $20,000 parts. How many of those do you want to keep in spec box?
Right. Right.
But
right.
if that's something that's likely to fail, you want to make sure you have one that moves smooth.
Absolutely.
And crane was manufactured in Japan.
Oh, really?
Yep. The barge is U.S. built.
Okay.
So some of the crane parts are kind of hard to get.
Okay.
It takes a lead time on them.
So when you're making this whole facility, so the crane comes over and you have to integrate it to the barge and
Yeah, then they build the barge, they sail the crane over as they brought it from Japan.
oh, that's great.
They cut it off this barge, stuck it on this one. They bought this house and plucked it on this barge too.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, and we have another one being built bigger.
I heard.
Yeah.
So bigger means what?
More production.
Okay.
Capacity. This bucket that we see out here right now is 72 cubic yards.
72 cubic yards.
The next one will have the largest bucket will be about 100.
Wow. So 30% more production in theory.
Yeah.
Wow.
Keep your cycle time the same. You know how fast you're able to. They measure how long it takes.
Right.
So that cycle time stays the same, but you just picked up another 30 cubic yards per bucket.
Yeah.
Adds up.
Right. Yeah, because believe it, we are just enough of a ship geek where we'd like, okay, the bucket just hit the water, we're counting. You know, and how far does it take to get down 50 feet approximately, come back up, you know, so people love watching this stuff.
Yeah, and then, you know, we analyze that data down to the seconds, down to the minute. That's what the engineering and production team's doing. They're scoring. They have a scoreboard and scorecards, and the operators have, there's an analysis that's done, and it kind of color codes who dug what and ranks their times to get friendly competitive.
Yeah, because I noticed that.
But you can learn a lot from it. Oh, hey, you did this rate, and then the next guy was a little bit slower. What went wrong?
Or what did you do? How did you use the controls? Maybe a little bit differently,
And right. In some cases, it's the variability in the sediment type changes. So as you're digging along, you go from soft material, all of a sudden you hit a hard spot, its production goes down. So
he just was the unlucky one that hit the hard spot.
exactly. and we saw a lot of that when we were in San Juan. The material would change from this to limestone and then back to clay, and it was
wow.
It was unusual material type there. Just a lot of variability in it.
That's interesting.
Beer's been pretty consistently putting.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I also noticed that, you know, they're not clearing that barge by a whole lot. So there is
Everything's calculated.
Right, right. Like you were just saying, I'm just playing off of what you just said, how, you know, obviously efficiency. So you're not going to lift that thing 10 feet higher than you need to, right?
And then even right now, he's kind of sky dumping. He's dumping from a pretty high elevation.
Okay.
The material becomes denser and harder. He'll have to lower the bucket into the scow.
Because you
early
don't
on,
want...
Yeah, you don't want to shock the scow, damage the scow with like rock and stone debris. This material here is a little forgiving.
Okay.
So that saves some time by not having to lower right now.
Right, sure.
It gets messy sometimes when the scow gets full and he does that. Cover their whole windshield.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm a boater out here, right? So when we pull up our anchor and it's got that black mud all over it, it gets all over the front of my boat. Certainly not the same scale, but I get it. Well, thanks so much for having us on board. I really appreciate it.
all about, I've always seen it, as a boater myself, I see these pieces of equipment out here, and that's kind of what got me into it. Yeah,
Right.
Working in coastal engineering before I got into this field. So I knew of the industry, and I would see the dredges out there in the inlets, and I was like, man, I want to go work on one of those. Here I am.
Yeah.
What type of training or education did you go through to get to this point, specifically with this?
Personally, I'm more like environmental engineering, coastal engineering background. So I've done a lot of like beach design work, and then so as an engineer, you're working with your construction company, which is the dredgers, and then this is the construction side of the design. That was the route. We have a lot of the engineering staff are coastal engineers, civil engineering.
So how big is Curtin? I have no idea.
400 employees. A lot of what we do, the other side of our business is marine transportation.
Okay.
Bigger, right? Marine transportation is kind of how we started, and then they kind of got into the dredging later on in the company's history.
Oh, okay. So kind of talking about tugboats, or
yeah, we have a whole fleet of tugs. We're right on this project. We've got a mix. We're subbing out like the Paul Henry is a subcontractor,
Right.
third party tug, but then we have the Alice C and the Karen C. Those are company owned tugboats.
Right.
Right now we have 3 towing tugs in rotation with 4 scows.
right,
Cycle.
right.
And I'm not sure the size of the entire Curtin fleet.
Right.
Just curious, I'd have to look at my spreadsheet.
Okay.
Cygnet's got the East Coast.
Where would from a tugboat standpoint, where would you say the company concentration is? Like from a port or maybe a coast or
Long Beach, California.
okay.
Yeah, home base is Long Beach.
Yeah, that's a small port.
However, to accurately tell you where all of our assets are deployed, that's a very subjective question.
Oh yeah, I was just
Right
because
now
I
we
know
have-
I've never even heard of Curtin before. Yeah. It's a lot to make this happen. Yeah, so those tugs, they must be good at getting subcontractors ready because they work casually. Yeah. Now where are they out of? I can do this in our harbor. All right. Yeah. One of the parts. Really? Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's cool. So I think, could I get you to say that again? I'm just, I don't know. So talk to me about the, what is it, the Mary Emma that we're talking about?
Stasinos is the third party contractor.
Right.
And the crew on the Mary Emma is majority female, captain, deckhand.
Oh wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's kind of a rarity to see out here on the water.
Sure.
Always encouraging to see.
Absolutely.
Female crew out here.
Absolutely. I think there's a good chunk of our 16,000 members who would be really interested to hear about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
2 chefs on, they rotate 24/7, cook 4 meals a day.
Right.
So just a matter of just the freaking food run out here, pretty much daily between all the vessels. There's always some kind of pallet.
Wow. Do the cooks ever see the light of day?
Not often, actually. They're down in that galley.
Oh my gosh.
Around the
Right?
dock,
Yeah. I mean, just scaled up. Imagine you're on an aircraft carrier. You know, those poor guys probably never see the sunlight for 6 months.
No.
You know, focus on a much bigger. You know, I mean, I can imagine. Wow, it takes so much to make this work.
The crews on the tugs, they all kind of, I think they rotate through each other.
Yeah.
We've got dedicated scholars.
Yeah. And again, thanks so much for having us on. So when he picks that up and he goes to swing over, I want you to get a shot of me, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit.
Where? Oh. Why don't you come?
Just go ahead and
why
get
don't you
there
come
and be
right
ready.
here? Come right here.
Be here.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah, that's good. That's good right there. That way I can get, because I got that post is kind of in the way.
All right, kind of looks like we're getting ready to get another load out of the bucket here. You can see it coming up now. So right now they don't need to use the grates because the material here is pretty much just mud and sand. There's not a whole lot of debris. What I'm fascinated with is when they dump this into the scow, we feel it on this monstrous piece of equipment that we're standing on. You can kind of feel the whole thing move, even though this thing is anchored by 4 of these giant spuds. You would almost think you wouldn't feel it, but you do. I just find that fascinating.
And then, of course, everybody's favorite place, the galley.
Really?
So, as you can see on the board here, galley serves 4 meals a day.
Wow.
It's essentially a commercial grade galley. A wide array of choices the guys have.
Nice.
2 cooks on duty, or basically they rotate. We have 2 cooks on board. The meals are pretty extensive. Cuts to whatever the guys need. We have the welders, so we can service a good amount of stuff on board because they self-sustain essentially.
Nice.
A lot of more storage areas down below. Unfortunately, I can't take you down there, but we have a lot of room for a lot of spares on it.
Right. That's what I was talking to Rob about. You know, there's so many moving parts. There's so much going on here. Obviously, you can't afford to be broken down for too long. You know, he's going into a little bit about, you know, the spares and the things that you guys keep. I mean, not really in any specifics.
Yeah, they can essentially they're as self-sustaining as you can get.
Right.
So here are the line winches that I was talking about earlier. So these are the barge winches that are actually run from the bridge with their connected to the scow barges.
Okay.
So they have a couple of hand-tightened lines, but otherwise everything's on hydraulics. And this can be run from down here just like the spuds can from the bridge.
Oh, okay.
But you also have the local here as well. So.
Okay. Wow.
But as
You guys
you
fuel up like once a month or so?
it depends on the demand.
Sure, of course.
I don't know the fuel consumption numbers off the top of my head, but the way it works is that we usually have to touch
Gotcha.
but with the ability to see all the stores are on site, we're over at the store here. To the left of our gas. That's about as far as I can take you out on the deck. See where the lines come out.
Yeah. Gotcha. So once you loop them over, you know, once you tie it onto
Yeah, essentially the tug rig and the great large alongside, put the lines up, they can tie them up top. Deckhands coordinate with the bridge. Haul up on the line, that's secure.
yeah, and then it's all
right by that.
Wow. That's the part of the drop that you can right now with the lines of moving.
Oh, right.
The only time you really see any movement is scouts that are alongside is obviously wave action or when a deep craft ship.
Oh,
Even
right.
then it's very, unless you're looking at it on the computer, it doesn't register on the naked eye.
Ah.
Which is the advantage you have in the hydros with the mooring line, so you're not having a big gap open or disturb it.
Yeah, you're going to get a drop here from down.
Stories of all the cool things that you grabbed out of the water. Is there a secret stash somewhere?
To be honest, I don't know because since I've been out here, it's probably only my second rotation out here.
Yeah.
It's all the softer stuff.
Yeah, where is the Curtin Indiana Jones warehouse of submarine relics and
I mean, I imagine a lot of that stuff would be taken off down at the offloader.
yeah.
They don't do a lot of, aside from the actual buckets, there's not a lot of lifting going on here. Anything other than storage. We have a storage crane, and we have a primary crane. And other than that, we have a
Gotcha.
But yeah, that would probably be sitting between the screens and then take off by the offloader at
And that's back. That's on shore.
Is that
The offloader's on
no? The
shore?
offloader's at Poplar Island,
Poplar. Oh, okay.
which is further down the bay.
Okay.
About a 3-hour tugboat ride.
It's effectively another crane, right? Is that what you mean? Yeah, okay.
Basically a crane with a big butt.
Gotcha.
I think we hit it just at the right time.
Oh, yeah, I think so. You're gonna tell the captain it was a 1 night day.
Or at least let him own it. Oh yeah, I made it happen for you. Yeah, okay. All right.
Nicely done, Captain.
Wow, man.
Thank you. This is why we like
All right, that was impressive.
Yeah. So how were you able to get it so stable right there at that 1 second?
push on it real hard. That's one of the test form rigs.
Hey everybody, Mike Singer, Baltimore and Chesapeake Bay Shipwatchers. We're here at Smith Shipyard, Curtis Bay, and just back from our trip back from the Dredge. What an incredible, eye-opening experience that was. So much to learn out there, and I our crew captain, the captain of the crew boat, man, was that guy amazing, right? We're in crosswinds. He backs that thing up to the dredge like he's parking a car, and it just sits there steady, and we get on. I don't know how the heck he did that. I want to be a captain like that when I grow up. Anyway, look for some more material coming up soon, and we'll be posting that in the next day or so.
All right, everybody. That was what we did for Saturday, and I felt like it was a great time. I learned a tremendous amount, and I had a somewhat of a sense of what dredging operations was, but there was so much that I learned from just being there, boots on the ground. How they have to live and operate on the barge. All of the things that were going on all at the same time. What are some of your thoughts? Things that you weren't expecting, or some takeaways.
Just how big it is, how massive everything is, like how they once they get the lines on the barge, that they have this huge motor system that pulls the line tight. Now, I guess that makes sense, right? But I didn't think that they would have this huge motor system that pulls the line tight. And it certainly makes sense that, you've got this dredge that you're dumping 10 dump trucks of stuff into at a time. So you want to make sure it's tied tight. But I didn't realize there were like hydraulic motors to pull these lines tight. And then when they dump the dredge in, you're on this massive dredge. I mean, it's got a pilot house that looks like it's a ship. Right. And the crane's so big that they had to ship it overseas to add it onto the barge, right? This thing is massive. And then when they dump those 10 dump trucks worth of dredge into the barge, which sitting next to the dredge, the whole thing moves. The whole thing moved. I was blown away by that.
When that first dump hit, and like to not only hear the noise, I don't know what I was thinking. I was like, how much, well, of course it's not going to be silent, but just the noise from it dropping, and then the vibrations that were sent from the other barge into our barge.
Right. That was incredible. And how the thing doesn't ever stop moving. I mean, it does, but it's something like, okay, they have it mapped out how much that each bucket picks up. So it's like, pick up a bucket, dump. Pick up a bucket, dump. Pick up this spud, pick up this spud. The two in the back tilt. Okay? So there's a hydraulic thing, actuator. And so let's say it pushes, right? And so the dredge goes forward a pre-prescribed amount, okay? Then drop the spuds, bucket, up come the spuds, walk, drop the spuds, bucket, and I mean, it just never. I was blown away by that.
It was almost like a choreographed dance.
Yeah, it was amazing. I almost wanted to ask, are you guys manually doing this, or is some of this like pre-programmed, and I never got around to
that thing?
To asking that. Again, way off in the distance at a couple of miles away, it looks like it moves every once in a while. I mean, this thing, every 2 or 3 buckets, it's moving whatever that prescribed 10 feet or whatever it is.
I think I even referenced one of the buoys, that it was kind of.
I remember that.
I was like, "Hey, watch it! It's you."
Because I had my back to it, and Kip's like, "Yeah, I don't think you're seeing this, but back over your shoulder, I'm watching this buoy kind of like
move past us." But
the whole time this is going on, yeah.
Even when we're
moving so slow, you kind of don't feel it. But so the walking spuds, which are like big square ones, right? They're in the back, and we were in the front where the crane was. So it's the pilot house, then the big round spuds, then the crane. So as we're standing on that catwalk, for lack of a better term, The spuds were right there. And yeah, I was blown away by how dynamic the thing was.
So it was just, I'm very thankful for that opportunity. I appreciate the Army Corps of Engineers and Curtin Marine to spend the time that they did with us, and allowed us to ask questions and show us some things that we probably would have never had an opportunity. Also, we were there with Evan Woodard from Salvage Arc. So if you look up on Instagram, Salvage Arc, or he's also got a website, salvagearc.com. He does exploration and does a little bit of history stuff, but he's doing the magnet fishing in the harbor.
Yeah,
and
now how do you get the
us.
fish to actually bite the magnet? That's the part I don't know.
Right.
Remember?
He was telling the story about how people were asking, "Oh, how do you catch fish with magnets?" We're like, "No, it's not for
right."
fish.
So he takes a magnet like on a line or a rope and just kind of puts it in the harbor and just, what can I
dig
down
up
there? What can I pick up? That has a whole bunch of history, because who knows how long it's been down there. So that's kind of his.
I never would have thought that somebody, in that kind of realm would be interested in dredging, but he was out to learn about it also and help some of his group understand about that concept, and I guess how it's related to magnet fishing. But it was great. We had a great conversation with him, so I want to give him a little bit of plug. You'll see I think you saw some of the pictures or videos of him walking around. So if you're interested in that, go over to Salvage Arc on Instagram on that. But anyway, that was we have some more videos and clips related to that trip that we're also putting together.
Right.
And
basically like a mega dump compared to what you just saw, right?
What you saw, yeah.
Yeah.
So once we get all that put together, we'll let everybody know about that. You can go take a look at that. So that was our trip for Saturday.
Yeah, it was amazing. And then, like the supply boat is going out, and then there's like a speed limit at the construction zone at the Key Bridge. And nobody was out there, but they honored that speed limit. They ran it down to, I don't know, 6 knots or something.
And I did hear the supply boat captain explain that you really do have to slow down, because any kind of wake right this minute could disrupt anything that's happening. So it really is important that you slow down through there, even if nobody's out there, even if you don't see anybody working right that minute, that just the wake alone could cause some issues.
Interesting. He did say that. Yeah. Yeah. So that was an amazing experience, an amazing, eye-opening, could be once in a lifetime experience. So, wow.
Hopefully everybody enjoyed what we were able to capture and share with everybody else.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Cool.
Let's get into, as we're kind of closing up, we do have some upcoming events over the next couple of weeks. This Wednesday evening, the Women's Traffic and Transportation Club of Baltimore has their March dinner meeting. I believe you're going out there, Mike.
Yep. My wife Wendy and I will be attending.
Okay, so if you're interested in that, go to the Women's Traffic Club's website. They've got under their events page.
Are tickets still available?
I believe tickets are still available. Who's the speaker for the event?
Colonel Esty Pinchason, right from the Army Corps of Engineers. She was the one that managed the whole recovery effort after the bridge came down.
So if you want to hear some stories and information about that, and possibly have a chance to ask a question, this may be a great opportunity for everybody to get a ticket. And
I'm just going to be a little bold here. If I don't hear from this Women's Traffic Club that they had people calling them and they were thinking about booking another place because they had so much demand to come see Colonel Esty Pinchason, then you all are missing something.
Absolutely, yeah. No, this is
y'all done screwed up, because
this is an excellent opportunity.
It's an incredible opportunity. She's not someone who is around all the time, and so to be able to get in a room with her and just listen to what she has to say and how she was involved in this incredible tragic accident in our hometown. just an amazing opportunity.
So venture over to their website and look at their event page for that. Thursday, March the 27th is the Baltimore Port Alliance Bull and Oyster Roast down at the cruise terminal. You can go to their website for information on purchasing tickets.
Whose website? Oh, BPA.
Yeah, the Baltimore Port Alliance.
Okay.
.org is their website. And I can put that link up also.
Okay.
The Baltimore Seafarers International Cruise is going to take place on Wednesday, April the 30th. Coming out of Baltimore, you get to have about a 2-hour tour. It's a guided tour. They explain a lot of things that are happening from the from the water side, and so you can see some really cool things in and around the port.
Yep.
May the 18th is National Maritime Day. We'll have some more information on that as we get a little bit closer.
Yep.
And so that kind of rounds up what's happening over the next couple of months.
Yeah.
In our history segment, I feel bad about this one. You
it
found
wouldn't be the first time that we missed,
something important.
What we need to coordinate the Facebook algorithm with our need for history. Can you give us this information before it becomes history?
Before it's important,
that we. Because doesn't it seem like probably like every other or third or fourth podcast we get done and then I see something like, oh my God, how did we miss? This like big historical date and somehow. Anyway, go ahead.
Come on, Facebook, help us out. March the 3rd. So March the 3rd is an important date for us, especially around Fort McHenry. Let me go through these. The first one will go way back. March the 3rd, 1849, the U.S. Department of the Interior was established to manage the nation's domestic matters, including public lands and public and private parks. And so March the 3rd in 1849 gave us the basis to be able to have a Fort McHenry National Park. So let's go fast forward to March 3rd, 1925. That's when Fort McHenry National Park was officially established as the first national park to commemorate the War of 1812. So on March 3rd of this year, that marks our 100th birthday of having Fort McHenry as a national park site. So that's pretty impressive. March the 3rd, 1931 is when the Star Spangled Banner becomes the official national anthem of the United States. So, which is interesting to me. Oh, it didn't become the official national anthem long before then. 1931 was pretty recent. So that's, I don't know that most people know that.
It took more than 100 years after it was written
for it to actually become.
Right. For guys of our age, we grew up reciting it in school. At least I did. I mean, through elementary school, like every day. So it was something that's always been around. You think it's always been around. And so to find out that it, quote unquote, just started
officially
in 1931, it's like, wow, really?
Really?
Kind of surprised.
But I think the thing to really kind of walk away with this is March 3rd is really an important date for Fort McHenry. Over the years, that we would not have Fort McHenry as it is today if it wasn't for March 3rd throughout time. So, thanks for that find, Mike. I appreciate that.
Well, you're working awfully hard on the video and end over there. So when I saw that, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do Kipp a solid. He's normally the history nugget guy.
I'll give you the point on that one. How about that?
Oh, a whole one.
Yeah,
that's sweet.
Yeah, that was worthy.
Now I have two. That's nice.
All right.
So just to summarize, we are Baltimore and Chesapeake Bay Shipwatchers. We have almost 16,000 people in the Facebook group, just a bunch of folks who are fascinated with everything that goes on at the Port of Baltimore. And as Kipp and I get together every week on this podcast, we're doing our best to just give some nuggets about how things work around here, why they work the way they do, and as many details as we can get out, because The port certainly isn't a cottage industry at $15 million a day in trade. But if you don't live by it or know somebody that works here, you might not realize what all goes on here. So we're just trying to get that message out. So we're on Twix, Instagram, Reddit, Threads, all over the place on social media. If we said anything wrong, if Mike said something stupid, Mike at BaltimoreShipwatchers.com. No, I really appreciate corrections because we are not a news agency, but we do take the job seriously of getting correct info out to folks. And we do want to know how things work. I'm not a mariner. Kipp isn't a mariner. So there's still tons to learn. So as we said earlier, if you're watching on YouTube, give us a like, subscribe, hit the bell to be alerted to new podcasts as they come available.
Let your friends and colleagues also know that we've got this, and if it's something that would be beneficial to them, please share so that we can continue to get that word out. And also, if you want the audio version of this, I know that the audio version may be a little difficult with the video that we've embedded in this episode, but you can get the audio version on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And we're looking to see if there's some other platforms that also make sense to broadcast out. So if you're on a platform and you would like to see it on that, let us know and let's see if we can't make that happen.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So whatever you think your friends might be interested in, that's appropriate. So is it engineering? Is it transportation? Is it ships? Do they like boats? I mean, it could, there's a lot of different subjects that could be applied to the information that we're getting out and this podcast. So if you know anybody that you think would be interested, share an episode or share the Balto Ches YouTube page or wherever you get this podcast with them. We'd appreciate it.
All right. I think that's about it for today.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and count it off and we can
do it.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Happy ship watching. Oh, I jumped the gun there a little bit. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you have a great week. We'll talk to you next week.